Morning. This is a true story, and I've done very little to embellish it for comedy's sake, and it's embarrassing. This will be my second chapel talk in close to 15 years of marriage that involves a vacation to New Hampshire. The first trip involved 3 trips to the hospital, a wasp attack, Lyme disease, 104-degree fever, and a puppy with impacted anal glands. The moral of my chapel talk about that vacation was that marriage is hard work, and I really love my wife. I still love my wife, but when you hear this story, you may find it amazing that she still loves me. But the moral of this chapel talk is somewhat different. On August 14th through 18th, my wife Mary and I took a brief trip to New Hampshire. How can anyone not love New Hampshire? Mr. Barnaby, are you around?
Absolutely.
Okay. Their state motto is?
Live free or die.
Live free or die. We began our little adventure on a Friday afternoon and engaged in one of my favorite activities, which is enjoying a leisurely drive north on Route 22. The scenery in northern Dutchess County, Columbia, and Rensselaer counties is spectacular. If you can withstand the often glacial pace of traffic, I suggest you try it sometime. We then ventured across Vermont's bucolic Route 9 and into New Hampshire to the hamlet of Washington, population 800. Interestingly enough, this is the very first town in America to be named after George Washington. 4 miles outside our destination, the Pillsbury State Park, we pull into the parking lot of a quintessential New England general store for some last-minute provisions. Actually, Mary was craving ice cream all day and saw this as her last opportunity for a few days. As we pulled into a space, I saw a young man in a red t-shirt, drenched in sweat, standing alone. I said to Mary, "I know that kid." Mary's got quite used to meeting some Trinity-Pawling student, alum, or parents in just about every far-flung place we've traveled to, so I think she braced herself for yet another How Are Things at TP Gabfest. I got out of the car, and there before me stood Jared Mazur. Of course, how normal for him to be waiting for me in a town of 800 in the middle of New Hampshire. Jared was visiting with some friends from home and stopped for a rest during a run. Great. He was training for cross-country. He must be. I pounced. I'm literally begging him to join the squad in a month. Mary, quickly bored of this, took my wallet and headed into the store with a headed into the store. When she returned, several minutes later, she handed me my wallet, a wad of disorganized cash and change. I continued to talk to Jared and organized and arranged my money. $167, 3 50s, 1 10, 1 5, and 2 singles. All set. I put my wallet away, said goodbye to Jared, and we headed off to our campsite. Fast forward. Friday, early evening. Nice park, breathtaking lake with loons and mountain views, and an okay but hardly ideal campsite. Site 12 was billed as a water site online, inasmuch as it is next to the lake. But to enjoy and actually see the lake, it would have to be winter, and there would have to be no foliage. Whatever. We set up camp, eat dinner, and make a fire and relax. Then around 9 p.m., the noisiest people on earth arrived. A family with a pop-up camper, 2 tents, dog, children, music, generator, lighthouse bright torches, and noise. Lots of noise. The father is clearly in charge of the process of setting up camp. In the middle of this operation, this dope drives over a big rock as he tries to back his pop-up camper into the campsite. He gets out, gets all sorts of banged up, looks at his car, yells at his kids, yells at his dog and wife, and it's really stunning. Amazingly, after an hour of this circus, it actually gets worse. His buddy arrives with his daughter. He sets up an even bigger tent next to ours and talks even louder than his pal. These folks proceed to spend the remainder of the evening speaking on their cell phones, talking loudly to one another, drinking beer, not disciplining their children, getting scolded by the park ranger and other campers, and staying up late. Eventually, Mary and I retired to our tent and managed to fall asleep. However, in the morning, they woke up early, I cannot make this up, and drove a car next to our tent and turned on the motor in order to charge their cell phone. I'm ready to kill these Philistines of the wilderness. So at 7 a.m., I get up, I get my gear together, I put on my boots, organize my pocket knife, wallet, and clothes, and get out of the tent. And as I walk over to Mary, who'd not surprisingly been up for some time, I look down at my wallet, and to my dismay, no $167, 3 50s, 1 10, 1 5, and 2 singles. Just 2 bright yellow stubs from the Keene, New Hampshire Kiwanis Club raffle that I purchased the day before. What the hell? I tell Mary my discovery, knowing full well that she's going to dismiss me as a scatterbrain who left the money in the truck or tent or cooler or some stupid place. A massive search ensues. Truck, tent, pockets, truck, tent, pockets, truck, tent, pockets. I panic. I backtracked events furiously. General store, pay at the park entrance, set up camp. The wallet never left me. I specifically recall $167, 350s, 110, 15, 2 singles. I counted it with Jared, put it in my wallet. Wallet to pocket. Now here's the key. Wallet to little pocket built into the tent wall, hanging just inside the tent when I went to sleep. I'm positive, no question. I must have been robbed while I was sleeping. Exactly. Robbed. I actually go back to the tent and practice surreptitiously unzipping the tent door, reaching into the pocket, taking out imaginary money, and leaving the wallet behind. Yeah, I was robbed. I was so positive. I could account for every second of my wallet's whereabouts. The $167, 350s, 110, 15, 2 singles. I even convinced Larry of this. Suddenly, everyone was a suspect. Some derelict was casing the park, or worse. One of those noisy bastards next door. I was fuming. As I grew angrier and more accusatory, I wanted to make sure that I got as many people involved as possible in my mania. So I grabbed my cell phone. That would do the trick. I called Trinity-Pawling and had Mr. Hoffman get Jared's home phone so I could call his parents and get Jared's cell phone and call him to make sure he saw me put my money away. Maybe I dropped it and he was holding it for me. The Mazureks were not home, but that's okay. I got Patty Mazurek, Jared's mom's phone number from their message. I called her in search of Jared. I told her what happened and she asked me if I thought Jared had stolen my money. Holy crap. No, 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 no. Jared did not steal it. I just want to have him verify that I'm not insane. Come on, Patty, Jared's a great kid. I'm just trying to use my cell phone to validate my story of theft and involve as many people as possible. She hung up, confused, and promised she would contact Jared. I'm then compelled to ask the noisy bastards next door if they saw anything or heard anything peculiar last night. Nothing. I ask at the park office. They are utterly nonplussed and actually offer to involve the police. As appealing as that sounded, I declined. I even went back to the general store. Nothing. Well, now I had Todd Hoffman, the Mazureks, the park staff, general store employees, and the noisy bastards next door all alarmed and suspicious. Mary declared that we would not simply sit at the campsite and sulk all day. We were not going home, as I had childishly indicated much earlier. So we decided to go for a hike. We packed our gear, locked the truck, and headed out for a 10-mile journey in thick, swampy, bug-infested New Hampshire moose country. As we slogged over logging trails, still drenched from June and July's terrible rains, my mind was racing. I was still fuming and still concocting scenarios of theft and deception. Over my head, I wore a giant cloud of anger and disappointment that blotted out the glorious sun that reigned above. All the while, I was still swearing to Mary the exact details in my recollection of the wallet's placement in the pocket of the tent. Around mile 2 or 3, I started to feel this curious anomaly in my boot. It was not a rock and not quite a peculiar fold in my sock. It was annoying. I stopped, I took off my boot, and pulled out $167. 350s, 110, 15, and 2 singles. My story had been wrong all along. My steadfast recollection of the events was not so steadfast. I had placed my wallet in the boot the night before. The $167, 350s, 110, 15, 2 singles had fallen into the bottom of the boot. It was that simple. Yet I had made it all so incredibly common. This year, when you are positive that something was stolen, it had to be that bastard who lives next door. Before you get out the cell phone and call your parents, before you discommode your doormaster, before you come into my office, outraged and venomous, stop! Double and triple check your room and be absolutely sure to look in your boots. More often than not, stolen simply means lost. Have a good year. Thank you.